I grip the steering wheel tighter as the iron gates of my parents' estate swing open. The drive up to their Connecticut mansion always feels like entering another world, one where I perpetually stand on the outside looking in. The autumn leaves crunch under my tires, a symphony of gold and crimson that clashes with the hollow feeling in my chest. My charcoal pencil skirt and burgundy blouse are tasteful but understated, a deliberate choice for their 35th anniversary celebration. I know from experience that my mother prefers me to blend into the background rather than stand out. Before I can even collect my purse from the passenger seat, Eliza's silver Mercedes pulls up behind me. I watch in the rearview mirror as she emerges in a shimmering gold dress that catches the late afternoon sun. Perfect timing, as always. The front door swings open. My father stands tall in his tailored suit, my mother radiant beside him in pale blue silk. Their faces light up as Eliza floats toward them. "There's our princess!" Mom calls out, arms outstretched. Dad wraps Eliza in a bear hug, lifting her slightly off her feet. The guest of honor arrives. I step out of my car, smoothing my skirt. Mom glances over Eliza's shoulder, her smile dimming just enough that only I would notice. "Veronica, you made it." A statement, not an exclamation. Dad offers a quick pat on my shoulder before turning back to Eliza. "Sweetheart, wait until you see the decorations. We've outdone ourselves this year." Inside, the grand foyer sparkles with crystal and silver. White roses and lilies spill from oversized vases, their scent almost overpowering. A string quartet plays softly in the corner. Nothing but the best for Robert and Eleanor White's anniversary. I scan the entrance to the dining room, where a framed seating chart sits on an antique stand. My finger traces the elegant calligraphy until I find my name table 14, far corner, near the kitchen doors, 6 tables away from my parents and Eliza. "We wanted to make sure you could network," Mom says, suddenly beside me. "The Hendersons will be at your table. They're always looking for tech consultants." I nod, swallowing the familiar ache. How thoughtful. She pats my arm distractedly before floating away to greet early arrivals. The event planner, a rail-thin woman with a clipboard permanently attached to her hand, corners my mother near the grand staircase. I move toward the bar, but their voices carry across the marble floor. "About the photographs, Mrs. White," the planner says. "We've scheduled the photographer for 7:30. Will that work for the family portraits?" My mother's voice drops to a stage whisper. "That's fine. But make sure we get one with just the 3 of us, Robert, myself, and Eliza. That's the one we'll want enlarged for the living room." My hand freezes around the champagne flute a server has just handed me. The 3 of them, not 4, never 4. The waiter, a young man with kind eyes, notices my expression. He tops off my glass with a sympathetic glance before discreetly moving away. I retreat to a window alcove, memories washing over me unbidden. Thanksgiving dinner, age 8, seated at the kids' table while Eliza, just 5, sat proudly between Mom and Dad. Christmas mornings where Eliza's pile of gifts dwarfed mine, spilling across the living room floor while mine fit neatly under a single tree branch. My high school debate championship, where my parents arrived during the closing remarks, having sat through all of Eliza's elementary school choir practice beforehand. The pattern was established early and never wavered. Veronica, the afterthought. Eliza, the cherished center. By 16, I had found my escape in dog-eared business books borrowed from the library. While Eliza collected ribbons for participation in various hobbies she quickly abandoned, I drafted business plans at our kitchen table. "A student concierge service?" Dad had laughed, barely glancing at my detailed proposal. "Honey, focus on your studies. Leave the business ideas to the professionals." That same month, Eliza's watercolor of our house windows, unevenly spaced, proportions impossible, was professionally framed and hung in the front hallway. My Regional Young Entrepreneur Award collected dust in my bedroom closet. The doorbell chimes again. Guests pour in, gravitating naturally toward Eliza's tinkling laugh in the center of the room. I drift toward the edges, helping Aunt Susan find her seat, showing Uncle William where the restrooms are located. "Veronica." My father calls, not quite looking at me as he passes. "Make sure the caterers don't forget the special champagne for the toast. The Veuve, not the Moet." I straighten my spine and nod. Of course. Not a guest to be celebrated, not a daughter to be cherished. Just another set of hands to ensure the celebration runs smoothly. A celebration where I'm simply another face in the crowd, watching the real family from afar. 15 minutes later, after guests assembled, the clink of silverware against crystal quiets as my father rises from his seat at the head of the table. His silver hair catches the chandelier light, and his custom tuxedo hugs his still athletic frame. He raises his glass, and the room holds its collective breath. 35 years, he begins, his voice carrying to every corner of the dining room. 35 years of building a legacy, a home, and a family. His gaze sweeps the room before landing on Eliza, his eyes crinkling at the corners. And nothing represents that legacy better than our beautiful daughters, especially our Eliza, who brings sunshine wherever she goes. I maintain my smile, practiced over decades, as he launches into a story about 5-year-old Eliza singing at their 20th anniversary. No mention of 15-year-old me who organized the entire surprise party. The story winds through Eliza's college graduation, her volunteer work with children, her artistic pursuits. 10 minutes pass. My name never crosses his lips. To Eleanor, my rock, my heart, Dad raises his glass higher. And to Eliza, the greatest gift our marriage has produced. Mother rises, tears gleaming, and wraps Eliza in a lingering embrace, pearls against gold as their dresses press together. The guests applaud. I join them, my hands meeting in silent rhythm while I stand alone. Across the room, Cousin Thomas catches my eye. He offers a slight shake of his head, barely perceptible before looking away. Aunt Barbara suddenly becomes engrossed in her napkin. Uncle Philip examines his watch with unusual intensity. They know. They've always known. I exhale slowly, my lungs releasing air in carefully measured amounts. My face remains composed. CEO face, James calls it. The one that reveals nothing during negotiations, when millions hang in the balance. Tonight it masks something far more valuable than money. And now, Dad announces, a special presentation. Mother produces a red leather box from beneath the table. The distinctive Cartier packaging gleams under the lights. The room stills. Even the waitstaff pauses. For the true fruit of our 35 years together, Father proclaims, his voice thick with emotion. He places the box in Eliza's manicured hands. Something as precious and timeless as you are to us. Eliza's fingers tremble as she lifts the lid. Nestled against white satin lies a watch encrusted with diamonds that catch fire in the light. The guests gasp in unison. The Santos de Cartier, my father announces proudly. Custom designed with Eleanor's birthstone at the 12. Someone whispers the price, $15,000, and a murmur ripples through the crowd. Eliza squeals, launching herself into our parents' arms. They form a perfect tableau of family devotion, while I stand sentry at my assigned table near the kitchen doors. No acknowledgement of the daughter who shares their name, but apparently not their hearts. No second box waits beneath the table. No surprise for the firstborn. When the applause fades, I slip toward the bar. Aunt Margaret intercepts me, her arthritic fingers closing around my wrist. Join me for some air, dear? It's not really a question. On the terrace, autumn air clears the scent of lilies from my lungs. Margaret settles her substantial frame onto a stone bench. Did you know? She begins without preamble. That this is the third luxury gift they've given her this year? First the spa weekend in February, then the summer in France. My eyebrows rise. Summer in France? She told everyone she won that trip. Margaret snorts. Robert paid for everything, just like he's been paying the rent on her independent apartment these past 3 years. Cold certainty settles in my stomach. The puzzle pieces shift, revealing a clearer picture. That explains why my Series C funding announcement disappeared from the family newsletter. I murmur. The same month, Eliza started selling homemade soaps at the farmer's market. Your mother called it a hobby update. Your $40 million investment round was mentioned in paragraph 12, below Philip Jr.'s soccer tournament. My phone buzzes in my clutch. James's name flashes on the screen alongside his message. How's the royal coronation going? Escape plan ready when you need it. A smile, genuine this time, tugs at my lips. I quickly tap back. Standing by. May need extraction before dessert. Uncle William appears beside us, crystal tumbler in hand. His eyes, so like my father's, hold a softness his brothers never show when looking at me. Quite a watch, he says, settling beside Margaret. Almost as impressive as that tech prize you won last month. Shame they didn't mention it in the toast. Innovation Leadership Award. I correct gently. And it's fine. William leans closer, bourbon warming his words. You know your success makes them uncomfortable, dear. Always has. The waiter from earlier appears, champagne bottle at the ready. He tops off my glass with a subtle nod. moving on before anyone notices his special attention. A small kindness in a sea of orchestrated slights. Sarah, my childhood friend, catches my eye from across the terrace and makes her way over. She's aged well, her familiar face a welcome sight among the polished strangers my parents call friends. "I saw the whole thing," she whispers, squeezing my hand. "Want to sneak out the back like junior prom?" Before I can answer, my phone rings, my assistant's special tone. "Veronica White," I answer, business voice firmly in place. "Miss White, I know you're at a family event," Alexis says, following our pre-arranged script, "but there's an urgent situation with the Singapore client." "I understand. Give me 10 minutes. As I slip the phone back into my clutch, the event planner's voice rings out across the terrace. "Family photos on the grand staircase. Everyone please gather in the foyer." The guests flow inside, a river of silk and cologne. I follow, finding my assigned mark on the lowest step. Mother adjusts Eliza's hair, Dad straightens his tie, and the photographer positions us with practiced efficiency. I stand at the far edge, half my body already outside the frame. Flash, click. "Done. Now," Mother says, her voice carrying in the marbled space, "just the three of us for the special portrait." She doesn't look at me as she says it. Doesn't need to. The instruction hangs in the air, clear in its meaning. I stand frozen as they rearrange themselves, mother, father, favored daughter in the center of the staircase. The real family, the complete family, without me. The photographer adjusts his settings. The guests watch. No one speaks. I remain exactly where I am, neither retreating nor protesting, as the final photos are taken. The image will hang in the living room, I know. A permanent record of where I stand in the White family hierarchy, nowhere at all. I slip away from the party when Mom and Dad pull Eliza to the center of the room for a champagne toast. I immediately withdraw to the father's home office, log into my email, and call my assistant back to solve the work issue. After 15 minutes of checking every chart, every slide, every explanation, we send the new proposal to the clients and I want to take a small rest. My footsteps echo through the hallway as I climb the familiar staircase to my childhood bedroom. Just a moment of peace, that's all I need. When I push open the door, the air catches in my throat. This isn't my room anymore. Eliza's pageant crowns glitter on what used to be my bookshelf. Her college sorority composites hang where my honor roll certificates once lived. The walls, formerly a soft green, now shine in Eliza's favorite lavender. They didn't even wait for me to take all of my things before they reorganized the room completely. I whisper to the empty space. My fingers trace the outline of what used to be my desk, now a vanity scattered with Eliza's makeup. The shelves overflow with trophies from activities she abandoned after a month. Her childhood teddy bears occupy the window seat where I spent countless hours reading. I open the closet, the last place anything of mine might remain. A cardboard box sits in the corner, labeled Veronica Misk. Inside, my college diplomas rest beneath my Young Entrepreneur Award. My summa cum laude tassel is tangled around my business school graduation photo. Everything that marks my accomplishments, everything that defines my journey, stuffed away like holiday decorations. A crystal clarity washes over me. Nothing will ever change. I will always be the box in the corner, the afterthought, the chair by the kitchen door. I sit on the edge of the bed, now covered in a lavender duvet. My hand brushes something hard beneath the pillow. Curious, I pull out an old book, my grandmother's copy of Jane Eyre. My name is written inside the cover in her elegant handwriting. To my Veronica, a girl who will forge her own path. With love, Grandma Margaret. I remember how Grandma would pull me aside at family gatherings, her eyes twinkling as she slipped me books, while Eliza opened mountains of gifts. Books build inner worlds, she would whisper, where nobody can tell you who to be. As I turn the pages, an envelope slips out, yellowed with age, but sealed with wax bearing my grandmother's initial. My name is written across the front. The laughter from the party drifts upstairs as I break the seal. The letter inside is dated 3 weeks before Grandma died, nearly 5 years ago. My dearest Veronica, if you're reading this, you finally sought refuge in the pages of Jane Eyre. I knew this day would come, when the weight of invisibility became too much to bear. I recognize the pattern all too well. Your grandfather's family treated me just as yours treats you, as though I were a supporting character in someone else's story. But know this, my darling. You are the protagonist of your own life. I have made arrangements with Mr. Abernathy at the bank. There is an account in your name only, containing both funds and my personal journals. The code to access it is the date we visited the Metropolitan Museum. Just the two of us. This is not about money, though that will help. This is about legacy. You are my true heir in spirit, the one who carries my determination. The quiet ones observe, learn, and ultimately succeed where the celebrated ones falter. Remember, Veronica, sometimes family is who sees you, not who shares your name. With endless faith in you, Grandma Margaret. The tears come hot and fast, blurring the words. She knew. All those years, she saw what was happening and prepared this lifeline. My grandmother, the only person in this house who ever truly saw me. I reach for my phone, needing to connect with people who value me. 3 messages await from my business partners. James. How's the family circus? Remember, our dinner reservation is still on standby if you need an escape route. Michelle. That acquisition meeting went perfectly. The board voted unanimously in your favor. You're a genius, V. Remind your family of that when they put you at the kids' table. David. We're all here when you need us. Your real family. My fingers hover over the screen before I type back. Grandma left me a letter, and apparently an inheritance. I think it's time for me to stop waiting for a place at their table. Their responses come immediately. James. About time. We've been saving you a chair at the head of ours for years. Michelle. Whatever you decide, we're with you. David. Your grandmother sounds like the only smart white besides you. I think back to how they rallied around me when we started the company. How they defended me when clients assumed James was the CEO. How they celebrated every milestone with genuine joy for my success. How different from the hollow congratulations from my parents, always followed by, but Eliza. My jaw tightens. I slide the letter into my purse and walk to the wall, where a family photo from my high school graduation hangs. I'm on the edge, as always. I remove it from the frame, carefully cut myself free from the border, and place the small photo in my wallet. In Mom's dressing room, I spot Grandma's pearl brooch pinned to a scarf borrowed years ago and never returned. I unpin it gently, feeling its weight in my palm before securing it to my blouse. Downstairs, I spot Mr. Abernathy, my parents' financial advisor, sipping champagne near the garden doors. I approach with newfound confidence. Mr. Abernathy, I believe we have some business to discuss. I hand him my card. At your convenience, of course. His eyes widen slightly as he reads, Veronica White, CEO, White Innovations. He tucks it carefully into his pocket. I've been following your company's growth. Impressive work. Your grandmother would be proud. Yes, I say softly. I believe she would. The party swirls around me as I walk through the crowd, head higher than it's been all evening. No one notices as I hand my ticket to the valet. No one sees as my car pulls away from the house. In the rearview mirror, the lights of the party grow smaller. Tears stream down my face, but my breathing steadies. My phone buzzes with a text from Eliza. Where are you? They're about to cut the cake. I don't reply. Instead, I touch Grandma's brooch, feeling its contours beneath my fingers. The road ahead is clear and open. For the first time in 32 years, I'm not driving toward my parents' approval but away from their dismissal. The empty chair I leave behind can stay empty. I have a different seat waiting for me, at a different table, with people who make room in their hearts. The crisp autumn air fills my lungs as I step out of my car at La Fontaine. The restaurant's warm golden glow spills onto the sidewalk, a beacon after the cold shadow of my parents' estate. My hands have finally stopped trembling on the steering wheel. 40 minutes of driving with tears blurring the road had been dangerous but necessary. Some distances can't be measured in miles. Through the windows, I spot them already gathered at our usual corner table. James, Caitlin, and Robert, my business partners, my chosen family. They haven't seen me yet, but they're waiting. Champagne already poured. The maitre d' spots me before I can reach the door. Miss White. We've been expecting you. His genuine smile creates crinkles around his eyes. Your friends are waiting. Shall I take your coat? Inside, the restaurant hums with quiet conversation and the gentle clink of silverware on fine china. The scents of garlic, butter, and fresh herbs replace the cloying perfume of my mother's white roses. James looks up first, his face brightening. There she is. I slide into my waiting chair, the one that's always reserved for me, not 6 tables away from the people I care about. You actually escaped, Caitlin says, reaching for my hand. We were betting on whether you'd make it before dessert. James lifts his champagne flute. To the woman who built something real, he says. While others were planning parties, you were planning the future. The words unlock something in my chest. My smile, the first authentic one of the evening, feels foreign on my face, like a muscle long unused. My phone buzzes in my purse. Then again. And again. Let me guess, Robert says, eyebrows raised. The search party has been deployed? I pull out my phone. 3 texts from Eliza, each more frantic than the last. Where did you go? Mom is furious. Are you seriously ditching the anniversary? The screen changes to an incoming call, my mother. I decline it, but her voicemail follows seconds later. Veronica, I can't believe you would cause a scene by leaving early. People are asking questions. Call me immediately. My father's message arrives next, his voice tight with controlled anger. You've missed Senator Harris and the Douglases. They were specifically asking about tech consultants. Call your mother. I set the phone face down on the table. Not one of them asked if I was okay. Of course not, James says, refilling my glass. That would require seeing you as a person rather than an extension of themselves. Another message from my mother. Emergency meeting tomorrow at 2. You cannot escape this time. The restaurant door opens. A rush of cool air accompanies 2 figures I recognize immediately. Alicia from marketing and Devin from our development team. Did we miss it? Devin asks, breathless, waving his phone. The news just broke. My stomach tightens. Already? It wasn't supposed to hit until morning. James shrugs. Someone leaked. These things happen. Every phone at our table lights up simultaneously, then nearby tables too. The notification catches like wildfire across the restaurant. Breaking. White Innovations acquired by Stellar Tech for estimated $75 M. The calls begin almost immediately. Industry contacts, former clients, college professors who remember my early ambitions, each one expressing genuine excitement for my success. The restaurant owner appears with a bottle of their finest reserve. On the house, he says. My daughter used your productivity software to finish law school. Congratulations on your success. 2 more colleagues arrive, then 3 more. Our corner of the restaurant transforms into an impromptu celebration. We have something for you, Caitlin says during a lull. She places a small, carefully wrapped package in my hands. Inside the tissue paper lies a framed photograph I've never seen before. My grandmother at my age, sitting at her desk in the small accounting practice she built during a time when women were expected to stay home. Her eyes hold the same determined glint I see in the mirror. Where did you find this? I whisper, running my finger along the silver frame. Your Aunt Margaret. She thought you should have it tonight of all nights. Later, as I came back to my apartment, I opened my laptop. The email to my family forms slowly, deliberately. No mention of the acquisition. No details they can use to make my success about them. Just clear boundaries about my participation in future family events. I left early because I needed to be where I was welcome. I wish you both a happy anniversary, but I will no longer attend events where I'm treated as an afterthought rather than a daughter. Coda. My finger hovers over the send button. Not yet. Tonight belongs to those who see my worth without needing headlines to prove it. I close the laptop. For the first time in years, the weight of expectation lifts from my shoulders. Around me, faces shine with genuine affection. No hidden agendas. No conditional love. Tomorrow will bring complications. Tonight, I'm exactly where I belong. The next day, for the meeting, I choose the Meridian for our meeting, deliberately a sleek restaurant on the 40th floor of Hartford's newest skyscraper. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame the Connecticut River like artwork. A power spot. My territory, not theirs. Melissa, my executive assistant, arrives with me precisely 5 minutes before 2. Remember, she whispers, arranging files on the table. I'll signal when 30 minutes have passed. I nod, smoothing the burgundy silk blouse I selected for today. Armor, not appeasing attire. My parents arrive 7 minutes late. Mother's pearl necklace gleams against her cashmere sweater. Father's custom suit probably costs more than most people's monthly mortgage. They hesitate at the sight of Melissa, clearly thrown by her presence. I wasn't aware this was a business meeting. Father says, glancing pointedly at Melissa's portfolio. Just some documents I might need. My voice remains neutral. Melissa, Thank you for bringing these. Before they can object further, the hostess leads Eliza toward our table. My stomach tightens. Of course they brought reinforcements. Traffic was awful, Eliza says, sliding into the chair beside Mother. Her eyes dart nervously between us. The golden child sent as emotional bait. Mother dabs at her eyes before we've even ordered water. Do you have any idea how embarrassing it was? People asked where you'd gone. Any was? Family members noticed your empty seat, Father adds, leaning forward. The Hendersons specifically asked about you. The Hendersons, always the business connection. Never concern for me. I left after being excluded from the family photograph, I state simply. The one Mother specifically requested with just the three of us. Mother's hand flutters to her throat. You overheard that? It was just one photo, Veronica. Don't be dramatic. One photo that perfectly captures 32 years of family dynamics. Melissa silently slides a folder toward me. I open it, removing childhood photographs I'd collected and arranged chronologically. Christmas, 1998. I place the first photo on the table. Eliza front and center. Me, cropped halfway out of the frame. That was just a bad angle. Mother protests. I lay down another. My high school graduation. You both looking at Eliza while I hold my diploma. This is ridiculous, Father huffs. We attended, didn't we? The waiter approaches. Father orders expensive scotch. Mother requests sparkling water. Eliza mimics her choice. Just coffee, black, I tell the waiter, who nods and withdraws. Eliza leans forward, voice rehearsed. I felt attacked when you left, Veronica. Like you were punishing me for being loved. The calculated guilt trips don't work anymore. I simply wait. We told the family you had work stress, Mother finally admits. That you've been under pressure. People understand burnout. How convenient. I sip water, letting the silence stretch uncomfortably. You've rewritten my absence into something that requires neither explanation nor accountability from you. Father's face darkens. You have obligations to this family. Your grandmother would be ashamed of your behavior. My laugh surprises even me. Grandmother left me a letter, and funds specifically designated for me alone. I removed the letter from my folder. She recognized the pattern when she was still alive. Mother pales. What letter? What funds? The ones you never told me about. The inheritance I discovered after her death. Father slams his hand on the table, making the glassware jump. You and your business, playing entrepreneur instead of joining a respectable firm. You think I don't see what this is about? Attention-seeking, just like when you were little. Robert, Mother hisses, glancing around. People are starting to notice. Success has changed you, Mother says, leaning forward. You used to understand family comes first. Eliza's mascara smudges as tears form. You always needed to make everything about you. Even my moments have to become about your feelings. Their tactics might have wounded me once. Now I see them clearly for what they are: manipulation, not love. You're right about one thing, I say calmly. Success has changed me. It's shown me I deserve a seat at tables where I'm valued, not merely tolerated. I see. I place my business card in the center of the glass table. The embossed letters gleam. Veronica White, CEO, White Innovations. My company closed a $75 million acquisition last week. The news broke yesterday evening, during your celebration dinner. Their stunned expressions would be comical if they weren't so sad. If you wish to have a relationship moving forward, it will be on new terms. Equal respect. No more exclusion. No more Veronica in the corner while Eliza takes center stage. Father recovers first. Now listen here. No, I interrupt, standing. You've had 32 years to speak. I've had my say today. I gather my things while they sit frozen. Melissa follows my lead. I'd like a relationship with all of you, I say, voice softening slightly. But I no longer need one. There's a difference. Mother's hand trembles around her water glass. Father's jaw clenches. Eliza looks utterly lost, perhaps seeing for the first time how the family system worked and how it's now breaking. Congratulations again on your anniversary, I say, straightening my shoulders. I truly wish you happiness. I walk away without looking back, each step lighter than the last. Their silence follows me to the elevator, but for once, it doesn't define me. The doors slide closed on their stunned faces, and I exhale 32 years of waiting to matter. My reflection in the polished elevator doors shows something unfamiliar on my face. Peace. I stand in my penthouse kitchen, watching the spring sunset paint Hartford's skyline gold. 6 months since I walked away from my parents' anniversary dinner. 6 months of rebuilding on my terms. The antique mahogany table gleams in my dining room, set with grandmother's Wedgwood china delicate blue flowers against creamy porcelain. I trace my finger along the edge, where generations of white women once gathered. The same table where I was relegated to the far end, if invited at all. Last month, when father decided to downsize their formal dining room, I outbid everyone at the estate auction. The table came home with me, not as a peace offering, but as a reclamation. The doorbell chimes. James arrives first, a bottle of Barolo in one hand, a portfolio in the other. Latest projections for the mentorship program, he says, kissing my cheek. 28 applicants already. Women entrepreneurs who need more than just funding, I say. They need someone who sees their potential. Sarah follows with her husband, then my executive team, 2 college professors who serve on my foundation board, and my attorney Margot, who helped draft the Family Therapy Center donation in grandmother's name. While they mingle, I slip into my office where grandmother's letter hangs framed beside my window. Remember, Veronica, we choose which chairs matter. Her words guided me through my TED Talk last month, Finding Worth Beyond Family Validation. The video already has 300,000 views. My phone buzzes with a text from Eliza. They're still talking about you missing Easter dinner. Dad keeps calling it another stunt. Our cautious reconnection happens in secret texts and occasional coffee meetings. Without our parents watching, she's finding her voice, asking questions about starting community college. Small steps toward her own identity. A knock at my office door. Package just arrived for you, James says, handing me a small bubble mailer. Inside, a faded photograph Eliza and me at age 6 and 9, arms linked, laughing on a tire swing. On the back, in my sister's handwriting, we were happy before they taught us not to be. I tuck the photo into my pocket and return to my guests. They've gathered around the table, wine glasses filled, conversation flowing. No one checking their watch or measuring their words. No subtle jockeying for favor. I take my place at the head of the table. My place, not earned through manipulation or birthright, but offered freely by people who value my presence. To Veronica, James says, raising his glass, whose White Family Foundation just awarded its first scholarship to that brilliant girl from Bridgeport. To second chances, adds Sarah. I stand, feeling the weight of grandmother's brooch pinned above my heart. To chairs that matter, I say, and the people who fill them. Later, as my guests depart, I linger at the empty table. Tomorrow I'll host again, place cards already written in my hand for each person who chose me, not out of obligation but genuine connection. At the far end stands one empty chair. Not a place of exile, but a reminder of what I left behind and what I've found instead. I run my fingers across the polished wood of grandmother's table, now mine, now filled with laughter instead of judgment, with genuine interest instead of performance. The chair that matters most is the one where you're truly seen. And finally, I am. The Mont Blanc pen freezes in my hand mid-signature, ink bleeding into the acquisition contract like a wound. Through my office phone, Nadine from Velvet Knot Weddings clears her throat with the hesitation of someone delivering terminal news. I'm sorry, miss. Wade, but your family has asked that we remove you from the guest list. My gaze drifts to the Seattle skyline beyond my window, a panorama that usually reminds me how far I've climbed. 48 floors up, overlooking a city where my company now controls 18 premier venues. Below, the dotted lights of traffic flow like blood through veins, people moving forward while I sit suspended in disbelief. There must be some misunderstanding. I say, my voice steadier than the trembling that starts in my fingertips. I contributed $60,000 to my sister's wedding. Yes, well, Nadine pauses. I was told those funds were considered a gift with no expectations attached. The contract before me, a $7 million hotel acquisition that would expand Wade Collective into our 5th state, suddenly seems trivial compared to this betrayal, arriving on what should be my moment of professional triumph. The money has already been allocated to vendors, Nadine continues, her voice tightening. Your parents were quite clear this was discussed with you. The pen creates another dark blot on the paper as my hand tightens. 6 months earlier, I had quietly transferred the funds after overhearing Celeste fretting about costs during Sunday dinner. We might need to scale back, she'd whispered to our mother in the kitchen. I'd pretended not to hear, stepping back into the dining room where my father was congratulating my brother-in-law on his promotion to regional sales manager. That's a real career, Dad had said, raising his glass. When conversation turned to my recent acquisition of 3 vineyard venues, Dad had chuckled. Eleanor's still playing event planner, but at least she's having fun. I hadn't corrected him, hadn't mentioned the 8-figure revenue, or my company's expansion into 4 states. Instead, I'd written the check the next morning, telling myself success would eventually speak for itself. Please email me a breakdown of how my contribution was allocated. I tell Nadine now, my voice cooling to the temperature I reserve for difficult negotiations. Miss Wade, I'm sure your parents. The email, Nadine. Itemized expenditures. Today. Her nervous swallow carries through the line. Your parents assured me this was all discussed with you. I don't want to be caught in the middle of a family. This isn't about family. It's about business. My hands have stopped trembling. I pull up my company's vendor database on my second monitor, fingers moving with newfound purpose. You'll have the breakdown in my inbox within the hour. Of course, Miss Wade. I press the intercom button the moment the call ends. Amber, connect me with Jessica in legal, please. Not my parents. Not Celeste. Not the angry confrontation they might expect. The Wade family taught me one thing well. Power speaks louder than emotion. I stand and walk to the window, pressing my palm against the cool glass. For a fleeting moment, my reflection reveals what I try to hide in board meetings. The little sister still seeking approval. The daughter whose achievements are minimized. The outsider looking in at her own family. A single tear threatens, but I blink it away before it can fall. 20 minutes to compose myself before Jessica arrives. 20 minutes to accept that my only sister's wedding might become the final battlefield in a war I never wanted to fight. The Seattle skyline blurs briefly before I force myself to focus on the buildings my company now owns. The venues where other families celebrate their milestones. The empire I've built while mine continued to overlook me. I straighten my shoulders and return to my desk. The contract awaits my signature expansion, growth, success, all the things that have never been enough to make them see me. But perhaps now they'll have no choice. The velvet knot email lands in my inbox with the sterile politeness of a surgical knife. I sit at my desk, fingers hovering over the keyboard, pulse thrumming as I scan each line. As per our conversation with Richard and Diana Wade, we're pleased to confirm their generous gift covering all primary vendor expenses for Celeste's wedding. My palm presses against my chest as if to physically hold back the dawning realization. Their generous gift, not mine. I grip the edge of my desk, steadying myself. 3 clicks into our vendor management system, and there it is, confirmation that stings worse than the uninvitation. Every single wedding vendor for Celeste's event appears on my network chart. Florence Floral, Westlake Catering, Taylor Photography, all subsidiaries or partner companies to Wade Collective. My phone buzzes with a notification. I tap the screen to find a group text between my parents, Celeste, and her fiancé discussing wedding details from 3 weeks ago. A thread I was never part of despite funding the entire event. Evidence not of oversight, but deliberate exclusion. I've arranged for the ice sculpture delivery at 4 p.m., my mother wrote. My father's response: the Wade family knows how to celebrate properly. Indeed we do. 30 minutes later, Jessica and Martin file into my executive conference room, faces professionally neutral as they take their seats. I stand at the head of the table, spine straight as the legal contracts projected on the wall behind me. The contracts are ironclad, Jessica says, her voice precise as she adjusts her glasses. All vendors may withdraw services with 21 days' notice. No penalties. Martin clears his throat. There's something else you should know. He slides a folder across the polished table. Velvet Knot Weddings became a Wade Collective acquisition last month. The paperwork was finalized yesterday. And the venue? I ask, though I already know the answer. Willow Creek Estate is registered under Pinnacle Holdings, Martin continues, which is one of our subsidiaries. I complete his sentence, a cold clarity washing over me. The pinnacle of irony. My family chose to celebrate at a venue I own without bothering to realize it. Jessica's eyes narrow with concern. Eleanor, I should point out the potential repercussions if we move forward. Your family has legal recourse. Against me? Their uninvited daughter? The laugh that escapes my lips sounds foreign even to my ears. Please outline what exactly my family stands to lose. Martin taps his tablet and a new spreadsheet appears on the wall. Venue, catering, florals, photography, videography, coordination services. He lists methodically. All deposits would be forfeited according to contractual terms. And the timeline? 20 days until the wedding, Jessica confirms. If we begin the withdrawal process today, they'll have essentially no time to secure replacement vendors. Not at this level of service. I think of Celeste's excitement when she found the cascading wisteria at Willow Creek, her teary phone call about the perfect rose gold sunset for photos. Dreams I helped fulfill while being systematically erased from the celebration. Martin shifts uncomfortably. There's a business consideration as well. This could affect our Portland expansion if it becomes public. Venue magnate sabotages sister's wedding isn't the press we want ahead of city council approvals. I turn to the window, Seattle sprawling below me. The empire I've built piece by piece while my family continued to see the little girl playing dress-up. My reflection stares back, composed and certain. Begin coordinated service withdrawals, I say, my voice steady, effective immediately. Jessica and Martin exchange glances but nod. They know me well enough to recognize when a decision is final. My office phone rings the moment they leave. Nadine from Velvet Knot, her earlier professional composure fractured by panic. Miss Wade, there must be some mistake. All the vendors are sending termination notices. No mistake, I interrupt. The contracts are being exercised according to their terms. But your sister's wedding requires my presence, apparently, just not my money. I end the call, sinking into my chair. As vendors begin sending cancellation notices to my family, I wonder if business success was truly worth the price of family connection. Should I stand firm on principle and let them face the consequences of their actions, or find a way to salvage both the wedding and my dignity? What would you do when those who should value you most continually fail to see your worth? The answer waits in the gathering storm of my family's impending realization. They've never truly seen me. Perhaps now they'll have no choice. The next morning at the office, my phone vibrates against my desk for the 7th time in 2 hours. Dad's name flashes on the screen again, his 5th call since breakfast. I let it ring until voicemail claims it, then press the speaker button to hear his message. Eleanor, this has gone far enough. His voice quivers with barely contained rage. If these vendors don't reinstate their services by noon tomorrow, I'm contacting my attorney. You might think you're being clever, but this is criminal interference with contracts. I almost laugh at the irony he'd be suing his own daughter's company. The sound dies in my throat as another call comes through. Mom this time. Sweetheart? She begins, her voice honeyed with false concern. How could you ruin your sister's special day? What kind of person does that to family? We raised you better than this. I end the message midway through her guilt trip and stare at the Seattle skyline. The morning fog has lifted, revealing a clarity I wish I felt inside. My assistant, Amber, appears in the doorway with a stack of pink message slips. 3 calls from the Hendersons, they're friends of your parents? And Mr. Blackwell from the Downtown Business Association wants to know if there's any truth to the rumors about vendor troubles with the Wade wedding. They've been busy, I murmur, accepting the messages. There's more. Amber hands me the Morning Society page from the Seattle Times, folded to highlight a small item. Sources report a mysterious vendor exodus from the upcoming Wade-Pembroke nuptials, leaving Seattle society wondering what calamity has befallen one of the season's most anticipated celebrations. I set the paper down carefully, as if it might burn my fingertips. I rescheduled your investor meeting for next week. Amber adds, Jessica thought you might need the time to handle this situation. Thank you. Alone again, I cancel 2 more meetings, knowing I can't focus when my phone keeps lighting up with accusations. The morning dissolves into damage control, fielding calls from business associates who've received frantic messages from my parents painting me as vindictive and unstable. Later that evening, I sit cross-legged on my living room floor, laptop balanced on my knees, the lights of the city spread below my penthouse windows like fallen stars. I've ordered takeout that sits untouched beside me as I scroll through an old family video from Celeste's 16th birthday. Eleanor planned everything. Mom says to Aunt Judith in the video, her arm around Celeste, she's always been good at little parties. Little parties. The same year, I coordinated a charity gala for 800 people that raised over $2 million. I pause the video and open my email. There, in black and white, 3 years of correspondence with extended family where my parents have systematically minimized my career. Eleanor's venue business is doing well. Dad wrote to Uncle Robert last Christmas, never mentioning that well meant expanding into a fourth state with revenue approaching 9 figures. My phone pings with a notification. Celeste has posted on Instagram a moody black and white photo of her engagement ring with the caption, "Sometimes the people who should love you the most are the ones who hurt you deepest. Grateful for those who stand by me while selfish people destroy others' happiness for personal gain." The comments are filled with heart emojis and supportive messages asking what happened. She doesn't name me but doesn't need to. I open a new document and begin typing. Every email, every text, every conversation where I was dismissed or diminished, every dollar spent on Celeste's wedding, every vendor contract, every thread of evidence forms a timeline of a pattern I've allowed for too long. The next morning, Amber walks into my office carrying a brown paper bag that releases the aroma of cinnamon and butter when she sets it on my desk. "Your favorite from Meredith's Bakery," she says, pulling out a warm morning bun. "You look like you haven't slept." "I haven't," I admit, accepting the offering with grateful hands. Amber leans against my desk, her expression softening. "For what it's worth, I'd have uninvited them from my wedding years ago." The unexpected comment catches me mid-bite, and I nearly choke on a laugh, the first genuine one in days. Amber joins in, and for a brief moment, the weight lifts from my shoulders. The lightness disappears 30 minutes later when my father's voice booms from the reception area. My family has arrived unannounced, their voices carrying down the hallway as Amber tries unsuccessfully to enforce my closed-door policy. She can't hide from us forever. Dad declares, his footsteps growing louder. My office door swings open. Dad strides in first, followed by Mom and a stony-faced Celeste. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind me, the afternoon sun illuminates the tableau of family dysfunction. "What do you think you're doing?" Dad demands, his face flushed with indignation. I lean back in my chair, hands folded calmly on my desk. "Exactly what you taught me, protecting my investments." Mom steps forward, her hand fluttering dismissively. "It's just a silly wedding invitation, Eleanor. Why make such a fuss? We thought you'd be too busy with your project to attend anyway." Project. I savor the word before reaching for my phone. "Let me show you my project." I pull up the group text they created for wedding planning, the one I was never included in, and project it onto the wall screen. Message after message appears. Discussions of seating arrangements, floral designs, menu selections. Mom sharing the credit card receipt for the venue deposit. "Just put it on our card, we can use Eleanor's money but say it's from all of us." Dad's message. "She'll never know the difference. She's too wrapped up in her little business ventures." The blood drains from their faces as their words fill the wall behind me. "Did you think I wouldn't find out?" I ask quietly. "Or did you just not care?" Celeste sinks into a chair, staring at the messages as if seeing them for the first time. Mom opens her mouth, closes it, then tries again. "We were trying to simplify things," she manages weakly, "but something has shifted in the room, and within me." Looking at their stunned expressions, a realization washes over me. I've spent years chasing their approval, but I've built something they can't dismiss or diminish any longer. I don't need their validation to command respect. The door opens again as Jessica and Martin enter, arms laden with folders. Jessica, ever the professional, nods to my family before setting a slim portfolio on my desk. "The solution you requested," she says, opening it to reveal a detailed proposal. Martin steps forward with a tablet displaying photographs of the Laurel House, one of my smaller estates. Everything can be ready within the original time frame. We've confirmed availability with all replacement vendors. Dad watches this exchange, his expression morphing from anger to confusion. "You have a team," he says, as if noticing for the first time that I've built more than just a hobby. "A remarkable one," I agree, standing taller now. "They've prepared an alternative that salvages the wedding while protecting my dignity, something you never bothered to consider." My executive team presents the solution with precision and confidence, offering what my family has only taken: solutions instead of demands, respect instead of dismissal. In their presence, I feel my voice strengthen, my spine straighten. When they finish, I open my desk drawer and withdraw a folder embossed with the Wade Collective logo, a portfolio I prepared through the night, outlining my terms. The Laurel House. 1 day only. Basic services included. I slide the folder across the desk. My alternative offer. As my family stares at the document before them, I get the text message. I glance at the sender ID, Celeste. I look up at my sister standing across from me, phone in hand, her eyes meeting mine with an intensity I haven't seen since we were children. I need to speak with you, the message says, alone. I nod at her and she leaves the office with my parents. 2 days later, the wind whips across Crescent Bay Lodge's outdoor terrace, carrying salt and victory on its breath. I've chosen this cliffside venue deliberately, my crown jewel property, with its panoramic ocean views and understated luxury that commands 7 figures annually. The perfect backdrop for precision warfare. Celeste arrives 15 minutes early, her sedan pulling into the circular drive where Martin waits to escort her. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I watch my sister's expression shift from confusion to awe as she takes in the sweeping architecture, the way the building seems to emerge organically from the cliffside like it grew there rather than being constructed. Eleanor. Celeste steps onto the terrace, silk scarf fluttering around her throat. Her eyes widen, taking in the infinity pool that appears to spill directly into the Pacific. This is... yours? Welcome to Crescent Bay. I gesture to the leather portfolio on the glass table. Please sit. 2. The ocean crashes rhythmically below us, providing a soundtrack to what must be done. I open the portfolio without preamble, presenting the first document. This is the confirmation from Velvet Knot removing me from your guest list. I slide it across the table, followed by a bank statement. This shows my $60,000 contribution, which according to Nadine, was represented as a gift with no expectations. Celeste's fingers tremble slightly as she reviews each page. I continue methodically, laying out vendor contracts, cancellation notices, and the email thread with Nadine. Each of these vendors has withdrawn services as of yesterday. The venue is no longer available. Catering, flowers, photography, all canceled. My voice remains steady, factual. Color drains from Celeste's face as comprehension dawns. Mom and Dad said you were too busy to come, that you had meetings in Portland that weekend. I own the venue, Celeste. I own most of the vendors. Did you really think I wouldn't discover I'd been uninvited from a wedding I largely funded? Understanding breaks across her features like a wave. How much of this wedding industry do you actually control? Before I can answer, the terrace door bangs open. My parents storm through, Father's face flushed above his golf shirt. What do you think you're doing? He strides toward us, Mother following in his wake. Celeste, we've been calling you for hours. I'm showing my sister the truth. I rise slowly, reaching for the remote on the table. Since you've spent years hiding it from her. Father waves dismissively. This childish tantrum over a wedding invitation. This isn't about an invitation. The wall behind me illuminates as the hidden screen activates. This is about respect. The Wade Collective organizational chart appears 18 premier venues across 5 states, hospitality holdings, vendor networks, and revenue projections. Father's mouth opens, then closes. Eleanor's just playing at business, he attempts, turning to Celeste. Got lucky with a few properties that... 412 employees. I advance the slide. 18 venues, 8 hotels, annual revenue of $37 million. This isn't luck, Dad. This is what you refuse to see. Mother steps forward. Darling, we always knew you were doing well with your little company, but... My little company is worth more than Dad's ever was. The words land like stones in still water. The invitation wasn't the insult. The insult was spending my money while pretending I didn't matter. Celeste stands suddenly. I need you both to leave. Celeste, Mother begins. Now. My sister's voice carries an unfamiliar edge. I need to speak with Eleanor alone. The silence after they exit feels like the eye of a hurricane, temporary, charged with potential energy. Celeste turns to me, tears brightening her eyes. I didn't know any of it. That was the point. I closed the portfolio. They made sure you didn't. The terrace door opens again, but this time it's Jessica and Martin who enter, each carrying leather-bound presentations. Jessica nods professionally at Celeste. Miss Wade, we've prepared the contracts for the Laurel House. She places her portfolio on the table. It's available for your original date. Every Zalich not cappers. Martin adds his documentation beside hers. We've assembled a complete vendor portfolio ready to execute with 21 days' notice. Everything from your original plan has been replicated, with adjustments for the new location. Celeste watches them with growing comprehension. Miss Wade, she repeats softly, noticing how they address me with deference, not the dismissive tone our parents always used. Thank you, Jessica Martin. I gesture toward the chairs. Please, walk Celeste through the options. As they outline the new wedding plan with calm efficiency, I notice the shift in my sister's posture, straightening, leaning forward with intent focus. For the first time, she's seeing me not as her overlooked sister, but as the businesswoman our parents never acknowledged. My phone vibrates with incoming calls an hour later. Mother, father, mother again. The tone of their voicemails has shifted from demanding to pleading over the past hours. Their society friends have started asking questions about problems with the wedding. Father's business associates, previously unaware of my success, are expressing surprise at learning about Eleanor Wade's business empire. Is this real? Celeste asks when Jessica finishes, gesturing to the alternative wedding plans. You'd do this after everything? The Laurel House is yours if you want it. Martin will coordinate everything. I meet her eyes directly, but we need to discuss terms. The family meeting is scheduled tomorrow at my headquarters. As Celeste looks at me with new understanding, I wonder, should I simply reinstate the original wedding plans to spare her pain, or stand firm on my terms to finally establish boundaries with my family? Sometimes mercy feels like weakness, but sometimes strength requires forgiveness. The ocean crashes below us, constant and uncompromising. Like the truth, Eleanor, Celeste says finally, I'd like to see the Laurel House. I nod to Martin, who begins gathering the contracts. This isn't victory yet, just the first acknowledgement of a battlefield that has existed for years. My phone vibrates again. Another parent calling to plead rather than demand. The balance is shifting, but the war isn't over. It has only just begun. The next day, at headquarters, the family attorney's briefcase snaps open with military precision on my conference table. My father settles into the chair directly across from me, checking his Rolex for the third time in 5 minutes, a nervous tic I've observed since childhood, whenever he feels control slipping away. Mother arranges herself beside him, her forced smile as brittle as the pearls around her neck. We've drafted a reasonable compromise, Father says, sliding a document across the polished surface. You reinstate the original vendors and venue, and will ensure you receive a proper invitation. I don't touch the paper. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind them, Seattle's skyline forms a glittering backdrop that seems to underscore the distance between us. Them still seeing the daughter who needs their approval, me seeing clearly for perhaps the first time. A compromise suggests equal standing. I say, my voice steady. There's nothing equal about spending $60,000 of my money while excluding me from the event. Mother leans forward, her perfume the same scent she's worn since I was a child suddenly cloying. Think about what people will say, Eleanor. The family reputation is apparently worth exactly $60,000, I finish for her, plus tax. My father's jaw tightens. You've made your point with this little business demonstration. Now it's time to be reasonable. The word little hangs between us. The same diminutive he's attached to every achievement I've ever presented. Little business. Little hobby. Little Eleanor, playing at success. I press a button on my phone. Amber, please bring in the portfolio. While we wait, neither parent apologizes. Neither acknowledges the fundamental wrong of their actions. They simply expect compliance, as they always have. My assistant enters with a leather-bound portfolio, placing it before me with the precision of someone who understands exactly what this moment represents. I open it to the first page, a financial statement. Wade Collective grossed $83 million last year, I say, turning the portfolio toward them. That's approximately 7 times what your company ever made in its best year, Dad. His eyes widen, disbelief warring with dawning comprehension. I flip to the next page, a Wall Street Journal profile. I deliberately minimized our family connection in every interview. Not because I was ashamed of you, but because I thought it might hurt your pride to be known as Eleanor Wade's parents rather than the other way around. Another page, property holdings. Another organizational chart. With each turn, their expressions shift from confusion to shock. I don't need your permission to be successful, I say quietly. I need your respect to be family. The conference room door opens. Celeste steps in, her eyes red-rimmed but resolute. Martin stands beside her, his presence a silent confirmation that he's shown her everything, the true extent of my contribution, the systematic dismissal, the empire I've built while they weren't looking. My terms are non-negotiable, I continue, closing the portfolio. The Laurel House, 80 guests maximum, $185,000, paid up front. That's outrageous, Father sputters. That's market rate. I correct him. Actually, it's a family discount. Celeste moves to stand beside me, not them. The shift is small but seismic. I'd like a tour, she says softly, of everything. 30 minutes later, we stand in the main ballroom of my flagship venue. Crystal chandeliers reflect light across marble floors that cost more than my father's first house. Staff members approach with questions, each deferring to me with a respect my family has never witnessed. Miss Wade, the Morrison wedding needs approval on the custom lighting installation. Miss Wade, Chicago called about accelerating the acquisition timeline. Miss Wade, your investment team is waiting in the North Conference Room whenever you're ready. With each interaction, my father grows quieter, his shoulders gradually losing their rigid certainty. Mother wanders toward a display case featuring awards and press clippings, her fingers trailing over glass that protects evidence of a success she never bothered to acknowledge. When we reach my office, Mother notices it immediately, the only personal item in a space otherwise dedicated to business. A family photo from Celeste's graduation, all four of us smiling, my arm around my sister's shoulders. You kept this here? She asks, voice uncharacteristically small. Some things matter more than others, I answer simply. Celeste steps forward, taking my hands in hers. I want you to be my maid of honor, she says. Not just a guest, if you'll still consider it. The request catches me off guard, warmth blooming in my chest despite all my careful defenses. I'd be honored. I say, then add the boundary I should have established years ago, but only if it's because you want me there. I always did, she whispers. I just didn't know about any of this, about what they did. Father stands by the window, looking out at the city, but seeing something else entirely. When he turns, something has shifted in his expression, the beginnings of recognition I've waited decades to receive. We saw what we wanted to see, he says finally, the admission falling from him like a weight. We never really looked. In my outer office, Mother silently writes a check for the Laurel House, her hand trembling slightly. No complaints about the cost, no further attempts at manipulation. The power has shifted not because I demanded it, but because reality finally broke through their carefully constructed narrative. Celeste embraces me, tears streaming down her face. I didn't know, she repeats against my shoulder. I should have known. Over her shoulder, I catch Martin's eye and nod once. Make it perfect, I instruct him. Despite everything. Because that's what family does. Even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. They find a way forward. Not by forgetting, but by finally seeing clearly. On the wedding day, the morning sun streams through the Laurel House's glass atrium as I direct my team with hand signals they've learned to read like second nature. White roses cascade from hanging installations, transforming the space into a botanical cathedral. My venue, one of many in my portfolio, has never looked more immaculate. Miss Wade, the champagne delivery is here, my events director says, tablet in hand. Thank you, Colin. Have them use the service entrance and begin immediate chilling. My voice carries the quiet authority I've spent years cultivating. I catch sight of my parents entering the grand foyer, their posture different now, tentative, almost deferential. Dad nods at me from across the room instead of offering the dismissive pat on the shoulder I'd grown accustomed to at family gatherings. Eleanor. Mom approaches, wearing an expression I rarely see directed at me, a mixture of pride tinged with regret. Everything looks absolutely stunning. Mom. Thank you. Let me introduce you to my executive team. I gesture toward the group of professionals who've stood beside me through everything. This is Jessica, my chief legal counsel. Martin, operations director. Colin runs all our Pacific Northwest venues. Mom's eyes widen slightly as each person greets her with the same respectful, Mrs. Wade, and knowing looks that speak volumes about where their loyalties lie. Later, crystal flutes reflect prismatic light across white linen as I rise to deliver my toast. The same family members who once talked over me at Sunday dinners now lean forward, attentive. To Celeste and James, I begin, my voice steady. Family is complicated. Legacy even more so. I pause, meeting my father's gaze. You don't build empires out of spite. You build them with vision, then decide who gets to share the view. Applause ripples through the room. Celeste stands, moving to embrace me, microphone still in hand. Not just my sister, she says, voice thick with emotion, but my inspiration. Her words hang in the air, vindication I'd stopped believing would ever come. After the toasts, Jessica and Martin find me on the terrace overlooking the Sound. The sunset paints the water copper and gold, a perfect backdrop for what feels like my own personal victory. To flawless execution, Martin says, raising his glass, and bulletproof contracts, Jessica adds with a wink. I touch my glass to theirs. You two are more family to me than they've been in years. The admission comes easily now, without the sting it once carried. To boundaries that build bridges, not walls. Months later, Sunday dinner unfolds in my penthouse, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the Seattle skyline I conquered one building at a time. My father leans forward at the dining table I selected for its perfect dimensions. What do you think about expanding into the Southwest? He asks, his tone genuinely curious. With your business model, Arizona could be untapped potential. From the living room, I hear my mother's voice. My daughter, the CEO, she tells her friend, proudly displaying a magazine feature I'm certain she's memorized. My phone buzzes with a text from Celeste. The wedding photos have gone viral, each venue tagged with my company's name. A second message follows. You didn't just fund this wedding, you held it together. I see that now. As I welcome my family into my home on my terms, I wonder if true reconciliation comes from forgiveness or from finally being seen for who you really are. Is it enough that they recognize my success now? Or should genuine family bonds be unconditional from the start? What would you do? Embrace this new relationship, or maintain protective boundaries?